70-741 Lab 11, implementing distributed file system, that's DFS, and branch office solutions. But before we jump into the lab, let's take a moment and talk about what DFS is. DFS is a server role. It allows you to share folders located on different servers in one or more logically structured namespaces. What does that mean? That means if you look at the illustration here on your screen, you have a namespace server. This is the server that hosts the namespace. The namespace root is the starting point of the namespace. For example, contoso/public. Within that, you have folders. The folders don't have to have anything. They can have structure and hierarchy, and they can have folders with folder targets to provide the users with actual content. So when a user browses to the folder that has a target, the client computer receives a referral and it transparently redirects the client computer to one of the folder targets. How does it pick that folder target? Well, it looks at what site the user computer is in, and it picks the best target for that. For example, in the namespace, they may see tools, a folder named tools. Well, that tools folder is actually being hosted on 3 different servers: London, New York, and New York. So a user in the London location, London site, would be directed to the share that's on this folder. A user in the New York site would be directed to one of these 2, depending on what they're going for. For example, the tools folder is accessible locally in London and locally in New York. However, every user would be directed to the folder on the server in New York for the training guides. If the server in London were to go down, since this is being hosted in Active Directory, the updates allow it to transparently redirect requests for the tools folder to the server in New York. So even a user that's in London would still have access to the content. This is the beauty of DFS. It makes it possible to give users a virtual view of shared folders where a single path leads to files located on multiple servers. In the example here of the folder targets of London and New York for the tools folder, if a person with authoring rights or change rights, read or modify rights, add rights, and so on and so forth, adds a new tool or a new file, new data to the New York folder for tools, it's automatically replicated to the London folder. So the data is always replicated and stays equal. Okay, so moving on to our lab. Understand that distributed file system improves on the use of shared folders by enabling you to organize your shared folders and enabling you to distribute shares on multiple servers. For this lab, we'll be using our DC1 where we host our Active Directory, as well as servers 1 and 2. So make sure that you've powered on your DC1 if it was powered off. Give adequate time for it to come online and be able to have your server 1 and server 2 be able to authenticate. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect to server 1 first. And we will log on. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to install the DFS role and any associated requirements. So we go in our server manager, we go to manage, add roles and features. Of course, we're going to be going a role-based or feature-based installation. It's going to be on server 1. And we're going to scroll down to where we see file and storage services. I'm going to expand that. And then I'm going to expand file and iSCSI services. I'm going to scroll this down just a little bit so we can see everything there. We're going to select File Server. We're going to select DFS namespaces and add features. We're also going to select DFS replication. We will click Next, Next, and Install. Once your installation is completed, please take a screenshot and paste it into step number 10. While that's going on, I'm going to go over to server 2 and repeat the same steps. So same thing, next, next, next. We're going to expand file and storage services. We're going to expand file and iSCSI services. I'm going to scroll down. We're going to select file server. We're going to select DFS namespaces and add features and DFS replication and click next, next, and install. Once your installation is completed on both server 1 and server 2, exercise 11.1 will be completed. So I'm going to allow that to complete. I'm going to jump over to my server 1 in the meantime, see what our progress is there, and I have completed. So remember that we are going to be doing this in a domain environment. When we install DFS in a domain environment, the structure, the topology is hosted in Active Directory. So my installation here is done. I'm going to click Close. But before I go in any further, because we're going to be, the whole purpose of this is to create a shared namespace between two servers, I'm going to just jump back over to server 2 and see what my progression is there. It is moving along. Good. Back to server 1. So on server 1, I'm going to open up Windows Explorer. I'm going to go into my C drive, and I'm going to create 2 folders, and those folder names are going to be Share 1 and Share 2. We're going to right click on Share 1. We're going to go to Properties. We're going to click on Sharing, and then Advanced Sharing. We're going to select Share this folder. I'm going to click on the Permissions button and say Allow full control for everyone. Click OK, click OK, and click Close. Now, I'm going to repeat the same process for share number 2. Properties, Sharing, Advanced Sharing, Share this folder, Permissions, Everyone, Allow full control, click OK. Click OK, and click Close. Now, before I go any further, I want to just see what my progression on server 2 is. And we are completed. Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and close the installation wizard and return to Lun SVR1. I'm going to minimize my Windows Explorer, and in Server Manager go to Tools, go to DFS Management. And this is what DFS management appears. Now you can look here. Here is an example of what a DFS namespace. Look familiar? Same as the Microsoft document we were just looking at. So in the left pane, I'm going to right click on namespaces and I'm going to select new namespace. Our namespace wizard begins. So what server are we going to utilize? We're going to use Lund Server 1. I'm going to click Next. The name will be Shares. I want to click Edit Settings. And we need to tell it where, or actually we're going to answer our first question. But before we do that, we're actually really going to answer the first question, which was back in Windows Explorer. So when I was in the properties and we were in sharing, advanced sharing, and I clicked the permissions, we're giving everyone full control. Question number 1. Since we're allowing everyone full control, how do you make sure that the shared files are secure? The answer is you have to use NTFS permissions. You use NTFS permissions. Okay, question number 1. Okay, back over to our DFS management. And we're in our edit settings. And question number 2 is, what is the default location for the shares folder? Well, there's your default location. So go ahead and enter that in for question number 2. Now, the shared folder permissions. Let's select all users have read and write permissions. Click OK. Back on our name and settings page, let's click Next. So now we're on the Namespace Type page. So we are going to be doing this as domain based, and it's at least Windows Server 2008 mode. So question number 3, what is the name of the domain based namespace? It's right there under preview of domain based namespace. That's your answer to question number 3. Question number 4. What are the advantages of Windows Server 2008 mode? This comes from your book. You may wish to read your chapter on Lesson 11. I will tell you that it has to do with the number of folders it can support and in dealing with namespace and enumeration. But that's not your answer. You need to look it up and find the real answer, or the complete answer rather would be a better way to state it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click Next, and we can see what's going to be performed. We're going to click Create, and I have an error. So let's see if I can tell. Okay, the namespace cannot be added. A directory service error has occurred. Okay, so maybe I need to restart. I'm going to try something. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's run that wizard one more time and see if we get the same error again. And in fact, this time I'm going to browse and I'm going to find it. Okay, so I've got a problem finding my systems. So I think at this point what I need to do is I need to reboot all my servers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause the video for a moment, and I'm going to do that. If you have an error the same way as I do, I would recommend the same. Otherwise, wait a few seconds and I'll be right back. Okay, well that took about 4 or so minutes. I shut down all 3 of the VMs and then started up the domain controller first, ensuring that the services were all running before I even powered on my server 1 and server 2. So server 2 server manager, or server 1 server manager just came up. Let's take a look at what these services are that haven't started yet. Don't care about downloaded maps or the sync host. These will start automatically, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and we're going to right click and say start, right click and start, right click and start, and click OK. Eventually they'll start on their own, but we'll be a little impatient. They should not inhibit what we're doing at all. Yep, okay, so there we go, they're starting up. So we're going to go back to Tools and DFS Management. I'm going to right click on Namespaces and say New Namespace. And let's browse again. Let's make sure we've got connectivity that we can resolve the name. Okay, now it did. Now I think I should be okay. So we're going to click Next. The name will be Shares. Remember, we've got to go back to Edit Settings. We had already answered our second question, but we need to select all users have read and write permissions. If this worked for you the first time, you're just seeing me do it a second time. Next. Okay, it already exists. So I'm going to use, and its current security settings because it should be correct. And on this page we answered question 3. You referred to your textbook for the answer to question 4. We click Next and click Create. And now it's successful. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Close. And I'm going to click on Namespaces, and I can now see my datum.com/shares namespace. This is your screenshot for step number 20. Please take your screenshot and paste it in. Okay, so I'm going to select the datum.com/shares namespace, and I'm going over here. I'm going to select. Actually, I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to go Action and New Folder, and the name that we're going to do is it's going to be all caps, and it's going to be Lun Servers Share. And we're going to click Add because now we need to add the targets. See underneath here? This is just a name. We need to give it a target. We're going to click Add. And I'm going to browse. And there's my share 1 for server 1. I'm going to click OK. We can see it filled it in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click OK. We're going to click Add once more. And we're going to now, I'm going to browse, but this time I'm going to browse for server 2. There's no shares. So now the question is, did I skip a step? And the answer is yes, I did skip a step. Right here we can see that on Lun Server 2 I was supposed to open up Windows Explorer and create a Share 1 folder and then set the same permissions. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over and do that. I'm going to click on Lun Server 2. I'm going to go to File Explorer, Windows Explorer, this PC. We're going to go see, and now we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it Share 1. I'm going to right click, go to Properties, click Sharing, Advanced Sharing, share this folder, click Permissions, and allow everyone full control. Click OK, click OK, click Close. Now we'll jump back over to Server 1. Now I'm going to click the Show Shared Folders, and there it appears. And I click OK. And click OK. Both targets are there. So on our new Add New folder, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click OK. Now we get a prompt. We are prompted a replication group can be used to synchronize the folder targets of the folder you just created. Do you want to create a replication group? Well, yes, we do. That way we know that the data will stay synchronized and replicated. So yes. It's working. We can see it creating target information. Should only take a moment or two more if everything's working the way that it should. And the replication group and replicated folder name wizard does appear. So I'm going to go ahead. You can see the folder name here that we typed in all caps. We're going to click Next. And on the eligibility page, well, they're both added. So we're going to click Next. For the primary member, select your drop box, the drop arrow, and select LUN SVR1. Click Next. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, let's see, where are we at? We still have a number of steps in this. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to continue this video even though we're run over 20 minutes. I want to finish this step. So on our topology selection, full mesh is already selected. We click Next. On the schedule and bandwidth, we click Next. We review our settings and we create. And we were successful. On this successful page, go ahead and take a screenshot, paste it into step number 37. Once you've got your screenshot, click Close. You get a little message. We say OK. OK, so we're back to our main DFS management screen. Now we want to go to Windows Explorer. And I'm going to expand it. We're going to drill into our C drive and we're going to go to the Share 1 folder. We're simply going to right click and say New Text Document and press Enter. Simply created a new blank document. Now let's navigate up in our navigation bar, and I'm going to type in LUN-SVR2/Share1 and press Enter. It's not been replicated yet. Okay, so what I've done is I deleted that new text document that I created because I realized that step number 40 says open the LUN-SVR1/Share1 folder. They want us to go to the UNC, the network path. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type that in here. And press Enter. Now I'm on the network. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say New Text Document and press Enter. Now it wants me to open up the server 2 and see if it doesn't exist. And it's still empty. So my replication is not working. Let me troubleshoot this. Let's see what we got to do. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Under our namespace, I only see the server 1 listed as a namespace server. There's our namespace, but only the LUN server 1 shares path is listed. So I'm going to go and I'm going to click Add Namespace Server. I'm going to browse LUN-SVR2. I'm going to check names. We're going to click OK. And let's see here. Yep, path to shares. And let's just take a look here, edit settings. Let's go ahead and we're going to set this to all users have read and write. That's the same permissions we gave on server 1. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and click OK. It's checking the server status there. Let's view details. It validated the server name, validated the folder. It's checking the distributed file service to make sure that what status the service is in. In fact, we could have typed in a name that didn't exist for the folder and it would create it if it didn't. So it checked and looks like everything should be fine. So let's go ahead and we're going to just take a look and we should be good now. So let's go back over here and there it is. I didn't have to do anything other than that. LUN server 2 share 1 is still showing here. Before it was empty. The new text document has been replicated to it without me doing anything else. So if you have the same problem, under the namespace, click on the Namespace Servers tab. Select Add Namespace Server, and you're going to add LUN server 2, just the same thing as you saw me just do. So now, for question number 5, which documents in the LUN-SVR2 share 1 folder? New text document. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so to see the DFS namespace, let's open up the datum.com/shares/LUN server share folder. So //datum.com/shares, and right there I can just move my arrow down and press enter. And here again, there is the text document again. So what's your answer to question 6? Which document's in that folder? Correct, new text document. That ends exercise 11.2. I'm going to stop this video here and we'll pick it back up on the next part.